Good evening and welcome. I am Amarachi Ubani. Tonight is 3 days to the anti-government rally. Nigerian police refute allegation of plans to disrupt the exercise. Convicted former Delta State Governor James Ibori returns to court to face trial over confiscation of his £250 million assets. Court grants son of immediate past Minister of the FCT, Shamsuddin Bala, bail in the sum of 100 million naira. And U.S. government revokes over 100,000 travel visas from 7 countries, 13 days into the administration of President Donald Trump.
And on business news tonight, federal government's economic recovery growth plan set to commence by the end of February.
On sports news tonight, Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger urges team to be alert when they face league leaders Chelsea at Stamford Bridge on Saturday.
And from Abuja, I'm Gloria Umezuke. Tonight, the committee probing the Abuja Centenary City begins investigations into the project. Former Secretary to the federal government, Ayim Harris Ayim, lashes out at the committee over what he calls bias.
Anyone planning to join the anti-government rally planned by Nigerian music star Innocent Idibia, popularly known as Tuface Idibia, will be protected and is free to do so. That's the assurance from the Nigerian police. The Commissioner for Police in Lagos State, Mr. Fatai Owushini, told Channels Television that the organizers and the protesters are free to exercise their fundamental human rights by engaging in the planned peaceful protest expected to take place here in Lagos and some other major cities in the nation. Mr. Owushini was speaking on our political program Politics Today, adding that both the planned pro- and anti-government protests will be given the needed police protection. The assurance comes on the heels of an early report of a police ban on the protests.
This Commissioner of Police here did not at any time say that the rally cannot be held. The police, or this Commissioner of Police, is not the convener of the rally. It's the people that convey, that are planning the rally, that can decide based on advisories as to whether they need to go on with the rally or not. And I must emphasize here that the policing philosophy of the Inspector General of Police that he has set out is for us to ensure that our policing conforms with international best practices, with observance of rule of law, and of course to know that we are in a democracy, democratic policing. If they must exercise their right, ours is to ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order, and that is what we are assuring the members of the public, that there won't be any breakdown of law and order. Everyone in Lagos will be able to go about his or her business without let or hindrance. Pro, anti government rally, the police will ensure that there is no breakdown of law and order, that we manage it properly. This is not the first rally. There was one last month when some people, another group, marched from Yaba at the NLC Secretariat to Ojota. And it was done peacefully, it was managed. And we will continue to make sure that whoever that wants to express his opinion or opinion, do that under a peaceful atmosphere, and that is it.
The convicted former governor of Delta State, James Ibori, today appeared before Justice David Tomlinson at the Southwark Crown Court in London. Mr. Ibori, who was released from Bedford Prison on December 21st after being in jail since 2012, is facing another charge bordering on the confiscation of his assets worth £250 million. The latest trial is meant to determine if his assets would be seized after serving his jail term. Meanwhile, the case has been adjourned to March 17th. The 57-year-old Ibori was jailed for using UK financial institutions to launder hundreds of millions of pounds sterling he stole from public treasury in Delta State. Mr. Ibori was arrested by Interpol in Dubai, United Arab Emirates in May 2010 and later extradited to the UK, where he was tried and found guilty of money laundering and sentenced to a 13-year jail term. He was freed on December 2016 after serving 4.5 years in prison. Meanwhile, the son of the immediate past minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Mr. Shamsuddin Bala, has been granted bail by Federal High Court in Abuja. Mr. Shamsuddin Bala, who is standing trial on charges of money laundering to the tune of 1.1 billion naira, was granted bail in the sum of 100 million naira, and two sureties who could either be a businessman or a civil servant, not below the rank of assistant director, with evidence of payment of income tax in the last 3 years. Justice Nnamdi Dingba, who granted bail, also ruled that the sureties must possess a land and property in any part of Lagos State or the Federal Capital Territory, and also deposit their travel documents with the registrar of the Federal High Court. Justice Dingba added that the bail will only be approved upon a letter verification from the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, but added that should the EFCC decide to delay the process of verifying the bail conditions, an affidavit from any of the defendants will suffice. Mr. Shamsuddin Bala was arraigned alongside 5 companies: Bird Trust Argo Limited, Entertrans Global Logistics Limited, Daikin Telecommunications Limited, and Balvac Mining Nigeria Limited, on a 15-count charge for allegedly carrying out business transactions worth billions of naira in cash, thereby violating provisions of the Money Laundering Act. For the third time, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission has rearraigned Major General Emmanuel Atewe, a former commander of the Military Joint Task Force Operation Polo Shield in the Niger Delta, for an alleged fraud totaling about 8.5 billion naira. Major Atewe was rearraigned at the Federal High Court sitting in Lagos today before Justice Ayokunle Faji. He was rearraigned on a 22-count charge alongside a former Director General of the Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency, Patrick Apobolokemi, and 2 others, Kime Ekongusu and Josephine Otwaga. Their rearraignment before Justice Faji followed their transfer of the previous judge, Justice Saliu Seidu, from the Lagos Division of the Court to the Port Harcourt Division. Justice Faji has adjourned till February 13th and 17th, 2007 for trial to start afresh. We're staying with legal matters. A 45-year-old Nigerian man has been remanded in the South African police custody for allegedly dealing in and manufacturing crystal meth and illicit drug. He was arrested yesterday after he failed to hand himself in following a raid which saw 4 of his alleged accomplices arrested. Channels TV was at the Benoni Magistrates Court for his first appearance.
The 45-year-old Nigerian suspect appeared very briefly before the magistrate Ian Cox of the Benoni Magistrates Court, charged under South Africa's Drug and Drug Trafficking Act 140 of 1992. After he failed to hand himself in December 2016 following a raid, 2 Taiwanese and 2 Mozambicans were arrested in that raid on the premises, where chemicals and crystal meth manufacturing equipment worth about 96 million naira were seized by the Hawks.
Hawks yesterday afternoon arrested an alleged drug kingpin in Kenton Park who failed to hand himself in at the Hawks office in Jamestown after he was instructed by the authorities to hand himself with his legal representative. This was regarding a clandestine laboratory which was used to manufacture crystal meth in Pomona. The case was postponed to the 10th of February for further investigation, and this is where he will be appearing together with his co-accused.
If found guilty, the suspect stands a minimum of 15 years in jail. From the Benoni Magistrate Court, Johannesburg, Betty Dibia, Channels Television News.
4 persons have been arrested in the Day area of the Federal Capital Territory over alleged involvement in the sale of the nation's currency, the naira. Speaking at a meeting with officials of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Commissioner of Police in charge of the FCT, Mr. Mohammed Mustafa, says over 1.7 million naira was recovered from the suspects.
The exhibits are there to show, side by side, the 4 persons recently arrested for allegedly hawking the nation's currency in Day, a suburb of Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. Their action contravenes the Central Bank of Nigeria Act of 2007, which prescribes a 6 months imprisonment or an option of fine of 50,000 naira or both for the offense of selling buying, spraying and squeezing the naira. The Commissioner of Police in the Federal Capital Territory speaks on how the arrest was effected.
At the DAD, Jabi and other locations within the Federal Capital Territory, which were used for illegal trading and hawking of the Nigerian currency, as the naira, which is an act contrary to Section 20 and 21 of the CBN Act 2007.
While this seems to be a major feat in guarding the nation's currency, central bank officials say the raid continues.
That this operation, the police have assured us that this operation will even get to wedding halls. And do not be surprised when couples will be arraigned because of this thing. If you want to give money, go and give money. Don't dance on our national currency.
The FCT Police Commissioner also appeals to the residents who intend to embark on protest march in the city to seek approval before embarking on such.
The FCT Police Command wants to reiterate its stance that individuals and group planning any form of protest in the Federal Capital Territory should, before embarking on such protests, notify the command of its intention and ensure that appropriate approval is secured.
The police says more investigations will be conducted on the suspects arrested in connection with the hawking of the nation's currency and the case charged to court.
2 suspected Fulani herdsmen have been nabbed by the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps in Osun State. The suspects are alleged to have led their cattle to destroy some rice farms valued at millions of naira in Songbe area of Olaoluwa local government area of the state. The suspected Fulani herdsmen are also alleged to have threatened the villagers' lives and more loss of their farmlands.
These farmlands, spanning about 25 acres, used to be filled with rice, ready to be harvested and sold. But that will no more happen, as herds of cattle, allegedly led by some suspected Fulanis, marched into Bola Fashade's farm, eating up all her labor.
I spent about 800,000 naira. I borrowed money here and there. I came on Sunday. On Monday, when I saw many cattle eating my rice. There is nothing I can do.
She's not the only farmer with this bitter experience. Dele Banjo, another rice farmer in Songbe village, says he was attacked and chased out of his farm while harvesting his rice.
When they came to my farm the day before yesterday, I told them that you should allow me to finish the harvesting. They said no. I said, I'm the owner of the farm. They said, in fact, he has prepared to fight against me.
The sad tales of these 2 farmers and many in the area may have spurred the officers of the Nigeria Security and Civil Defense Corps into action. The efforts of the officers have unraveled the settlement of the herdsmen, a warned farmers' settlement. Although most of the herdsmen have fled the settlement, 2 of them are unlucky.
2,000 to 3,000 cows were moved, and they were constituting a nuisance to the Songbe area. And they went on rampage and they were destroying farmlands. Early this morning, had to mobilize all what we have to go to the scene of the event, the farmland where crops were destroyed. And surprisingly, when we got there, it was a sorry state.
While the government strongly promotes agriculture, scenarios like this one may deter people from investing into the farming business if stiff actions are not taken against the threat to food sufficiency.